Hi everyone! I am back for another X Looks 1 palette. I don't know how many I'm gonna do. This is my first time filming since I got back from my vacation, so if I seem a little stale or if I look like I forgot to put on makeup, I might have. I did buy this. I have the Rare Beauty eye primer on. Look at my second piercing. I just got it literally like 2 hours ago. So I'm going to start off with this shade here. This is totally a palette of quads. Every single arrangement of 4 shadows is so beautiful. So I'm just gonna lay it down and I'll blend it out later. The shadow is kind of sticking a little right here. Unlike here on this eye, it's starting to blend itself out. This is a very, very clean Rephr 14. It's not too big of a deal if it doesn't blend out much because it will get covered up later. Okay, that looks a little bit better, but maybe like there was a little bit of moisture in my eyelid here that gripped onto it better versus this eyelid being drier. I'm not sure. So I'm gonna just use the same brush to blend the eyeshadow up further. And as you can see, the camera is zoomed out a little bit more than my previous multiple looks 1 palettes, so that hopefully we are not as out of focus as I tend to be. Okay, so I'm going to go into that dark brown, which is the darkest brown in this palette. And like I said, this is going to cover up all of that shadow I've been complaining about, so it's not like it's going to be super visible. And I'm just using the same Rephr 14, so I can kind of blend as I go. So as you can see, I'm angling the eyeshadow up. I know it's like, must be infuriating seeing me use this palette and the first look you see out of me is boring. But it is good also just to showcase what this palette can do. And I'm just kind of tapping at the end of my eye so that it doesn't go out of control. Yeah, that's pretty symmetrical enough. You know, there are these 2 metallics here, but I actually really want to use this one right here all over the eyelid. And it's more of like a, actually it's more like a copper. Well, that's a good thing, because like, I don't think we need more golds from Pat McGrath. Like last I checked, I didn't think we did. And it looked really pretty on my finger. I'm not really seeing the intensity with my finger, but it could be that my long fingernails make it hard for me to apply it well, so hold on, I'll use a brush. It's so weird, it swatches so well on my finger, but I feel like that's just not translating onto my eyelid. Let me try a different brush, because I know sometimes this brush doesn't work as well. So one of my favorite metallic brushes for really stubborn metallics is actually the Morphe M124. It's so stiff that it can usually pick up any metallic that I can't make work otherwise, so if this doesn't help, then I don't know what will. This is just not, like, my finger looked completely different, I will just have to say that. It felt so soft and creamy on my finger. See, look at that. Versus on my eyelid, do you see the difference? Super big difference. Okay, now it suddenly looks better. Maybe I swatched it too lightly with my finger the first time around, so barely any product transferred to my eyelid. Maybe this is one of those shades that just likes to stay on your finger and not translate to your actual eyelid. It's what the Jaclyn singles do. Yeah, now it looks good, but I'm sure you saw I was disappointed for a second. I couldn't get it to work. And I'm going to put this on my lower lash line. Okay, it's a different finish. It's a lot more sparkly. Really sparkly, super pretty. Definitely a really great lower lash line shade for someone like me who likes to jazz up the lower lash line. Take this little inner corner highlight shade. So do you see how it looks a lot more smooth, and so it's not foiled and it's not sparkly. So this is foiled, this is sparkly, and then this is just smooth. It's a little bit white on my inner corner. I will say, I think this smooth formula of inner corner highlight is not as good as Natasha Denona's. It is really pretty, but I have to say on first use of this, I am not immediately like blown away feeling excited like I usually do. But yeah, okay, I'm gonna finish off this makeup. I'm probably just gonna put on some mascara because it is late at night, and I'll put on everything else and I'll be back and I'll talk about the details of this look, and then I will move on to the next look. Okay, this is gonna be my finished look. I just have some mascara on, and then I did some winged liner just to add some definition. So I used the middle blush here, and I just used a very, very fluffy stippling brush to apply it, so it's very sheer application. And then I did go ahead and I used the highlighter as well. For my nose, I did use Flower Nose Revelation. So I kind of like overlined and established a base using Roman's Blur Fudge and Coral Jubilee, but then my main lip color is one of my favorite lip shades of all time, and that is MAC Devoted to Chili. So overall, this is a very kind of typical warm look that you would see from me. Not super exciting, but I don't want this video to drag on for too long, so I'm going to stop talking and we're going to move on to the next look, and you'll see that in a couple seconds. Hello! Oh no! Oh no! It's Nala! Hello! Okay, I'm back for look number 2, and okay, so I'm gonna take this pink. They are a little bit drier than Natasha Denona's, so I'm going to start working this in very generally. The only thing is that this brush is very big, so I am using Peiliee today to see if that helps the shimmers stick on better, because I did have trouble with the first look, as you guys noticed. And I'm gonna leave space for the blue shimmer. I'm gonna try and leave a blank space for it. So this is gonna be the first time we've really seen these bright, colorful mattes from Pat McGrath, and I've been hearing some people say, you know, based on the performance of this palette, there may be a reason we've not seen too many colorful mattes from her. So obviously at the end of this video, I'm going to round up my opinions to add to the rabble. I try my best to be thorough, because I know stuff like this, especially the eyeshadows that I tend to go for, even indie shadows can be really expensive, so I don't want anyone to feel like they're gonna waste their money. I have gotten comments from some people saying they have bought things on my recommendation. Some people were happy with the recommendation, other people were disappointed, so I do take that responsibility very seriously. I don't want to ever be the reason that you wasted your money. So far my approach using fluffier brushes is working a lot better. So now I'm just taking a dense, stiff brush. I believe this Morphe brush does use some natural hairs. I wouldn't know because, I mean, it's a Morphe brush, but it is very dense and the bristles are very stiff, so great for packing. Okay, I am liking that so far, and I see it's picking up some pigment, so I'm going to lay this on the blank space. There is nothing, there's no powder, there's just the Peilie's base, so hopefully this sticks. So this, on first glance, is not that shiny. Okay, well, I was expecting a super foiled blue, but, you know, even looking at it in the pan, it definitely didn't look like it was going to be shiny, but you know what? I honestly have to say, this blue is performing like a ColourPop shimmer. I'm being so honest, this is not my favorite, and if this was intentionally to be a satin, I don't even think this would be a good satin. It does everything well in terms of application, like it applies perfect, but the finish is just not what I was expecting, and I don't even think if this was meant to be satin, I don't even think this would be a good satin, honestly. So I'm going to take more of that pink. Okay, blue things out a little more. Yeah, I thought the blue would make more of an impact. Let me just see if I can use my finger to really just kind of press it onto my eyelid, make it melt a little bit more. I am going to take a little bit of this purple here on the outer corner of my lower lash line, just because if my lower lash line is very like kind of dull looking, I feel like my whole eye look looks flat. I do need a little bit of definition here. I look much better when my lower lash line gets nice and deepened. This This is kind of like what I call like a cotton candy look because it looks like the colors of cotton candy, obviously. Awesome. Okay, and now I am going to take an inner corner highlight. And I'm just laying this brush on its side. Okay, so that's gonna be that look, and then, so I'm just gonna put on some very, very, very light lashes, and then I'll be back with the finished look. Editing Fox here. I finally did get a chance to look at the website, and actually I can see, not on mobile, but on desktop you can see a little bit more about the finishes. So there is actually a finish on the website that says Satin Frost, and it says it's a pop of satin color. You can use it across the lids and inner corners for maximum intensity using your finger, or use a fluffy brush to blend a wash of color. So these are intended to be more satin and less impactful. So I just wanted to let you guys know. Okay, so this is the finished look. As you can see, I'm leaving my hair up. My hair is probably going to be up for pretty much every look in this video because I'm just trying to make sure that my hair doesn't catch on my new piercing. So I know my hair doesn't look as good up, but whatever. I did put on a little bit of black eyeliner, as you can see, just some baby wings. I did some inner corner liner, and then I did some lower lash mascara. My blush, I actually used the Patrick Ta Major Dimensions Volume 1. I used the pink blush cream and powder. It's still my favorite. So I used that, and then for the highlighter on my cheeks, I used the brand new highlighter. It just arrived in the mail from Celestial Nirvana. I, at this point, kind of just consider myself a collector of her holiday highlighters, and I really have no shame. As usual, it is way too dark for me to use without some kind of blush underneath. For my nose, it's too dark for my nose, so I used the one from Bridgerton. It's the pale gold one from the Bridgerton collab. And then for my lips, I line my lips, and then I use two glosses. I use the NYX This Is Milky Gloss and Milkberry Shake. I love these. These are cute, and they smell really good. I think they're like $8.50 each. And then for the inside of my lips, I wanted a little bit more vibrancy for like a gradient lip look, so I used the NYX Butter Gloss in the shade Summer Fruit. And what you see on the outside of the tube is pretty much what you get on your lips. So I really like that they color the packaging because I have such a giant gargantuan lip collection that being able to see the color is really helpful. And I'm going to move on to the next look. Hi everyone, I'm back for look number 3. I'm going to play with the blues and purples, so I'm going to be using a lot more mattes in this look than I have in the past looks, and hopefully that'll give us a chance to really see how these perform. So again, I'm just going to be reaching for these fluffier, more diffuse brushes, and I'm going to see if that helps me lay down the pigment better the way I want to. So I'm going to first start off with this. I'm going to first start off with this one right here, and I'm going to start this in the middle. And I did use the Peiliee eye base, and I'm just going to apply a little bit at a time and see if I can build it up so that I can actually blend it, because the real focus of the look today is going to be on having multiple analogous colors making a gradient with each other. So that's a good start so far, and this is a, this is a fluffy brush, so I'm going to use a packing brush to pack it on later. Now I have been running my mouth for the first 2 looks, so I probably, for the next looks, whenever I'm repeating on the other side, I likely will kind of zoom through a lot of it just in the interest of time. And actually I should have moved this closer to the inner part of my eyelid. I'm gonna add a little more shadow and just kind of spread this out more. Hold on. Mistakes were made. Okay, now I'm going to go into that more intense purple. And I'm always nervous whenever I'm working with purples like these because generally speaking they are not super easy to work with. The best purples I've worked with so far have been in Blend Bunny blends. I am interested in the one from Sugar Drizzle Polish, but I haven't had the budget to pick it up. I feel like if anyone could do a matte purple, I would hope that McGrath would do a good job of it. So as usual, I'm just starting off soft so that I can blend it out. Okay, well it did sort out eventually. That's not too bad so far, right? I really want to try this dark blue, so that's going to go obviously on the outer corner of my eye. And I'm just using tapping motions to make sure I lay it where I want it. So you see I do build it up I can build it up pretty deep, which is nice. So now I'm just going to start blending it out. These matte shades do have a little bit of kick up in the pan, but so far I've not had like fallout that bothers me. So now I'm just using this brush to tap the two shadows together. I want the blend to be seamless. And these are analogous colors, so you can blend them pretty much until it's really hard to overblend analogous colors. And then I'm gonna go into that warm purple I used initially. And I'm just going to use this to blend out the top. It's actually pretty good. I didn't have the worst time working with these. I will say they definitely don't perform like other Pat McGrath mattes in her motherships, but given how colorful these are, I can't really say I'm like surprised either. I'm just going to touch up this purple, make it more visible. There we go. Okay, so I'm going to do this all in the other eye. Again, I'm probably going to zoom through this pretty quickly. Okay, so on this side, I'm using the blue almost exclusively with this Sigma brush, and I'm having such an easier time working with this. So I feel like this matte formula is going to be one that you really want to build and blend with a softer, more diffused brush, where the bristles are more kind of fluffy and it's less firm. And then as you slowly blend and build, it just kind of works this way, because suddenly this matte is way easier to work with as opposed to using this firm flat brush earlier. So just gonna put that out there. Okay, so this is what the blend is looking like right now. As you can see, the left eye I've managed to make it look so much better because I really found a nice good workflow. I am mostly just going to repeat what I've been doing, but I think I'm just going to use this kind of vivid purple here, and it will definitely be interesting to see how this vivid purple goes on my lower lash line. My lower lash line, I generally don't put eye primer on my lower lash line, and frequently my under eyes I usually powder, so yeah, it doesn't look too bad on the lower lash line. Okay, so now I want to put down a shimmer, and I really want to use this beautiful shimmer here. It's kind of like a icy lavender blue. It reminds me of one of the shades in the Morphe and Pony palette, so I'm just going to go in with a brush. This is a double-ended brush from an ABH palette. I don't know which one it was, probably Sultry or something. But it still feels like a ColourPop shimmer. Like, I'm still not really getting amazing vibes off of this. It just isn't wowing me, I guess, which is really disappointing. But yeah, if I swatch it on my finger, do you see how it just kind of focus? Okay, so on this middle finger is the Pat McGrath, and on my index finger is a comparable shade from Morphe X Pony. The Morphe X Pony one is way more sheer, obviously. My cardboard warped, so even though it closes, there's still air that can come in, so I have it in a drawer, but I'm pretty sure it's going to go off way faster than my other palettes because the cardboard warped, so it can never close flat in it. So as you can see, the one on my index finger is more sheer, but you can see how they both are kind of crumbly and not super shiny. They both are similar that way. Okay, so I wiped clean the packing brush, and I do want to go back into this purple right here, and I am going to purple on the inner part of my eyelid. I applied it very little, and I was applying it with a fluffy brush, so I'm gonna go in and pack it on, and that will conclude this eye look. Alright, and then as a finishing touch, I do think I will benefit a little bit from bringing in the pink in the lower lash line. I already did put on a light layer of blush, so I'm going to take this pink right here, apply it right down here. And it just kind of makes it look like my eyes are blushing, which I really, really do like that look. Alright, I'm going to put on some lashes, and then I'm going to finish off my makeup, and I'm going to call this look done for now. Okay, so this is going to be the finished look. As usual, my hair is currently still up. I did end up touching up my eye look with a little bit of extra pizzazz. I really try not to dig into other products for my eyes when I'm doing looks with palettes, but I really just needed something extra. So for my highlight, the perfect highlight for this look today, of course, is going to be the Odin's Eye and Solmon highlighter in Lavender Dream. It is this right here. Beautiful highlight, one of my favorites in my collection. I use it very, very infrequently, but when I do use it, I absolutely love it, and it's perfect. Blush, I used a combination of two blushes. Before I set my face, I used the Ayao Minimalist whipped powder brush, blush, and then I set my face, and then I wanted to add a little bit of something just to kind of match with the purple eyeshadow, so I did go in with a little bit of Crazy in Love from Too Faced just right underneath my eyes just to cool it off a little bit, and then for highlighter on my nose, and then just to kind of mix in with this highlighter so it's a little bit more smoothed out, I used Becca Pearl today. As you can see, I don't use this frequently because it is almost too light for me, but for a look like this, which is very cool, having a warmer champagne highlighter would not really match as well, so this worked in this case. And then for lips, I lined my lips with a lip liner, and then I used the Clinique Even Better Pop Lip Color Foundation in 05 Camellia. It looks like this. It is literally the exact same color as my lips and as my lip liner, so I used this as a base shade just to kind of eliminate some color inconsistencies in my lips today. My lips have been kind of shedding and splitting and stuff, so there's some scabbing and stuff. And then on top of that, I applied that gradient look using the MAC Love Me lipstick in 9 Lives, which is this beautiful, cool red pink right here. And as you can see, I applied it mostly on the inner part of my lips, which is what I like to do. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I personally do really like how it turned out. If I had taken that Odin's Eye highlighter and just dabbed it all over the tops of my eyelids, that would have been just absolute perfection, but for the sake of this video, I'm not going to do that. I'll probably do it after I film so that I can upload it to Instagram, but for the sake of this video, I'm not going to do that. We're going to end here, so I'm going to move right along to look number 4. Okay, I'm back for look number 4. I did wear the eyeshadow for about 5 hours, which is not like a full wear test, but I was out doing some stuff. And I didn't really get any creasing or anything upon removal, and this is already after I used Peilie's eye base. You can see, especially on my lower lash line, that bright purple does stain. So just letting you guys know. So I'm going to use this green, and then I'm going to use this gold as like the point shade, and hopefully it's not like super sucky. We'll see. I'm kind of nervous. This is a really deep forest green. It has a little bit more blue as opposed to yellow, so it comes across as a very jewel toned green. It's like, it feels grungy, but because of how saturated it is and because there's more blue in it, it doesn't come across as grungy. So it is a pretty unique shade of green. Mochi says hello. I know. Hi Mochi. Are you cute? Aw. There we go. She has cheeks. Look at the cheeks. She wants attention right now, so I'll pet her while putting on eyeshadow, I guess. This shade has a lot of kick up. I am just tapping my brush each time. And now I'm gonna start establishing the outer shape of the eyeshadow. Okay, so I'm trying to like slope it down more, but as you can see, I've kind of created a bit of a mess. This is what happens when I use big brushes. I just kind of let the eyeshadow go everywhere. The staining from the previous look may interact with the green and make it look a little bit muddy, but that's okay. I'm gonna put some shimmers on top and that should hopefully counteract the effect. Mochi has gone under one of my desks and is very happy to be there, and it's so funny watching her squeeze under there because she flattens. You know how cats are liquid, so she flattens. But yeah, it takes a little bit of finagling, but this is a really nice green. It is really pretty. It is going on nice and opaque. It's taking a little bit of extra effort to blend. I think some of these shades in this palette may actually benefit from you setting your eye primer beforehand or using a more matte eye primer. By the way, if you see eyeshadow kind of looking funny right here, I have a little bump right there. Okay, so now I'm going to go ahead and find a clean brush. So this time I am going to take a natural hair brush. I'm taking the Sonia G Classic Crease, and I'm just going to use this clean to sweep over all the edges, because ordinarily if I was using this palette off camera or if I'm just using it in a get ready with me, I'm not trying to use only this palette for the sake of a demo. I would definitely go into a different palette for a lighter shade to blend this all out, but for the purposes of these videos I generally will, unless the palette is like specifically a companion palette, I will generally force myself to only use this palette. Okay, so that is a good start. So I am now going to apply some setting spray. My eyelids are very matte. I am going to go into this gold here. It's kind of like a old gold, fool's gold with a little drop of green. I'm going to use a different brush. I have gotten some comments recommending me your guys' favorite brushes for metallics, and I do intend on buying probably all of them, honestly. I'm going to take some on a brush, and I'm going to use Fix Plus, and I'm going to see if that can change the impact of this. Okay, yeah, that's a little bit better. As you can see, that definitely upped the pigment saturation and the opacity. This one, at the very least, it is very smoothing at least, so it's not like, at least it does, you know, smooth my eyelids out a lot, which is cool, but I am also getting a lot of kind of flakes falling onto my eyelashes as I try and put this on. So this is also like kind of crumbly. So I just kind of spread this out all over my eyelid. It does, as you can see, create a really pretty glossy sheen, very smoothing. Alright, so now for the lower lash line, I'm going to use this shade here. This is really pretty. Oh, I put on too much. I got into a habit of really getting it on my brush. Yeah, this one is really pretty. It's like super sparkly. Take a little bit more green and cover up that mess. So I'm going to go into that really dark brown I used on the first look. Just gonna add some depth. It also kind of will enhance the earthiness of this look, so it'll look a little less jewel because of this desaturated kind of old gold shimmer. I'm gonna add the brown that'll really make this look appear more earthy. I don't necessarily want you to be able to see that there's a brown, I just want it to be like, oh, it's darker right here. And then I do need an inner corner highlight, so I'm just going to go ahead and use the champagne I used in the first look. Or well, the slightly frostier champagne actually, now that I remember it. And it is a little abrupt, the transition, and I just realized there's this shade up here that looks so similar. Here's them next to each other. So this is the shade that's in the top right, and this is the shade I just used. Very similar. So I'm going to go ahead and take that and kind of use it to bridge the two. Kind of has that same formula going on. This is not what I expect from Pat McGrath Labs. Okay, yeah, that helps to bridge that transition really well. And then I'm going to take a little bit of it on a brush, and I'm going to use it on the lower lash line as well. For some reason, this look makes me think of a dollar bill. A US dollar bill, which is green for those who don't live in the US. Well, I do like how this look turned out in terms of color and arrangement and composition, and I do really like the end result, but the quality of the shimmers I'm working with have been a disappointment. It is very smoothing, it does give off a glossy appearance, but again, my Shiseido singles, for instance, do that better. So I'm gonna finish my makeup and I'll talk about what's on my face, and then we'll move on to the fifth and final look. Okay. This is gonna be my finished look. I do really like how it turned out. So far, honestly, I've not really disliked, aside from the first look, I've not really disliked the structure and underlying elements and compositions of any of my looks. I've just disliked the shimmer formula that I'm being handed here. But this is gonna be what everything looks like. I do love how I pulled everything together. I am really trying to practice getting better at matching blushes to blues and greens, and I think I'm starting to get there, especially with greens. For blush, I mainly use these two shades mixed together from Moon Prism, and then I blended everything out using the milky peach color from Peiliee. Really one of my favorite shades for blending out blush. Highlighter, obviously, well, maybe not obvious to you, but to no one's surprise, the best highlighter to match with this would be from Bridgerton, the Pat McGrath Incandescent Gold. And then for my lips, I used two lips. I used the Lady Bold lipstick in the shade Be True to You. I literally just took this and dabbed it on the center of my lip, and then I blended it out. I like literally just went doop 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 doop, and then I just started pursing my lips together to blend it out. These are super pigmented, and then I wanted to add a little bit more orange, and I also wanted it to be a little bit more smooth and glossy, so I used this as Juice Gloss from NYX on the center of the top lip, the center of the bottom lip, and that's it. This is the shade Guava Snap. As you can see, it's a sheer orange. And that's going to be it for this look. So for the last look, I'm going to focus on those pinks and reds, and I'm going to try and make sure I wrap up using every single shade in this palette. Alright, I'll see you guys in the fifth and final look. Hello, I'm back for the fifth and final look. So I'm going to be focusing on these warm shades over here, and then I'm going to incorporate the use of this shade here, which is the one shimmer I haven't used yet that I'm the most excited to try. So I am going to start off with this color here. Now these two shades are pretty close, But I'll start off with this, I'll add some depth with that, and then I'll go over all of that with this. It's going to be structurally a very simple look. I did prime my eyes with the Jaclyn primer today. I wanted to see what would happen if I use something a little less tacky and maybe a little bit kind of more smoothing. And I'm using a Sonia G Classic Crease, but we'll see how this works. Yeah, it's a very kind of orange red, almost like a, it is actually a lot redder than I thought it would be, but it's more of like an orange red, I would say. And I'm gonna take that underneath everything as well. And since it's that kind of color that I do like to kind of blow out a little bit on my lower lash line, I'm just gonna really let it blend out. It does seem to blend out alright. I would say the shade is a little bit less intense than that blue and that green in prior looks that I did, but it does build. Yeah, so it did blend out pretty easily, I would say, overall, so that's good. I feel like I was able to get this cranked out pretty quickly. So now I'm just going to take a really diffuse brush that is like ultra soft, and I'm just going to make sure that it is extra super blown out on the edges. This is from the Spectrum and Hello Kitty collection. Okay, so that's kind of the base that I've laid down for now. It is pretty red, and it honestly is pretty cool to see a mainstream brand have a red that is this red in a palette. I definitely wouldn't call this like the blood red shadow that a lot of us sometimes have been like hunting for a while. Alright, so I'm gonna now go into this more rusty toned red. This is up here. It's got a lot more brown in it. And I'm just going to do a vertical gradient today, nothing terribly complicated. Kind of having a tough time getting started today, so my creativity is not really in today, so you'll have to forgive me. I just have so much to do right now. I'm considering vlogging about it just so that I can like show just how much I'm having to do right now. Am I seeking validation from external sources? Potentially. Is that a good idea? No. Am I gonna do it anyways? Probably. Okay, I'm having issues blending this shade out, but I will switch to a different brush and work on it. Switching to my diffuse brush. I find it really interesting that I've had more success with my synthetics with this palette than naturals. Usually with her palettes it's the other way around. I prefer naturals. The mattes are a lot more powdery, lots more kick up than her motherships. So I'm experiencing a greater degree of usability and ease of use when I use like my more flimsy synthetics. Take this very soft Koyudo brush. There is no number on it, sorry. And I'm just going to use it clean, no product. This one is so soft. I do find Sonia G's brushes to be more on the firm side, very workhorse-like. So I'm gonna go in with a soft brush. Okay, that smoothed it out significantly. So yeah, it's just having better luck with this palette with my softer brushes, which is just so unusual. Okay, so it doesn't look half bad, honestly. This is a little bit better now. I was able to touch up the blends. I'll have more thoughts at the end of this video. So now it's time for the point shadow of this look. I really want to use this beautiful desaturated pink shade here. Yep, this is the sparklier formula. Oh, that's so pretty. See, I wish all of the shimmers in the palette had been this formula. It is loosely pressed in the pan, so be careful of fallout. This is so beautiful. Wow. Okay, I love this shade. And I'm just really letting it define the top of my eye look. Yeah, you can see on my finger, way shinier. So that's what that looks like. That is absolutely gorgeous. I am just really impressed with that shade. So now I'm going to go in with, I think I'm going to go ahead, I haven't actually used this shade yet, so I'm going to use this shade on the outer part of my eyelid just to add some depth and dimension. So I'm just going to pop this right here. Kind of warms up the look a little bit too, which is nice. Look at this pink. I think we can all agree at least the pink is really poppin'. Alright, so now I'm going to go in with an inner corner highlight. So I'm gonna go in using this shade right here. I've used the other inner corner highlight shade several times, so I'm gonna use this one again. I also don't really want my inner corner to be as bright this time, I think, so this should work. Yeah, that's a little bit more kind of subtle. Okay, so this is going to be kind of the finished eye look, very monochromatic. I feel like I could get a much better version out of this using Patrick Ta's Rose palette, to be honest, but I will admit the pink shade is really pretty, really sparkly, and kind of really rescued the look for me. So I'm going to finish off my makeup, and then we'll talk about what's on the rest of my face, and then I'm going to go into my final thoughts on this palette plus some comparisons, just so you guys can kind of like see what I'm talking about with like my disappointments, you know? So I'll be back in a few minutes. Okay, I'm back with the finished look, full monochromatic bricky red, and I do really like how it turned out. I added some eyeliner, and it's not super like obvious because it's not super dark, so I made the wings a lot longer than normal, and I just really like how elongated it makes my eyes look. My base blush is Overruled from Jaclyn Cosmetics. It's a really nice kind of burnt brick red, but with more of like a rose. And then I used the Peiliee shade in Dusky Rose, kind of closer towards the back of my cheeks as like a kind of add some dimension. And then I used this orange blush also from Peiliee. It's the shade Hazel Orange, really pretty by the way. And I used this in the front to kind of blend out the cream blush I laid down and create like a watercolor effect. For highlighter on my cheeks, I went with a rosier highlighter. I very rarely use this, but I did use the shade Fussy right here from this Diamond Veil palette. And then for my nose highlighter, I used the middle shade from this Hourglass highlighting trio. It has been a really long time since I broke this out, so I went ahead and used it today. And then for my lips, I lined my lips and then I created a gradient look using MAC X Pony Moot Point, which is this beautiful shade here. You can't get it anymore, but MAC has so many different like brick red shades at this point that you see these powder kiss colors. And that's going to be everything on my face. I hope you guys enjoyed this look. This is going to be a really long video, but I hope this was informative for you. Now let me quickly go over what I mean when I'm talking about like the shimmers. I'll zoom in really close as well so that you guys can really see my fingers. So here are the fingers, and this is from Decadence, and then this is the shade from Celestial Nirvana. But you can already tell as I move my fingers how much more light this one catches. Here's Decadence, so pretty. And then here's from Celestial Nirvana. It's nowhere near the same. Also, Decadence at this point, this is from Star Wars, so I believe this is going on at least over 2 years old, and the formula feels just as soft and creamy as the day I got it, and this is so much more drier and crumbly. So as you can see, I feel like this formula is very common to her holiday releases. Here on my index finger again, this is from the previous holiday palette, Celestial Odyssey. And then this is from Celestial Nirvana, and you can see how similar they are. Let me go ahead and start swatching these for you. So this is going to be from Celestial Odyssey, and then this is from Celestial Nirvana. And you can see they're pretty similar, especially this blue shade here. What a letdown. I am thoroughly disappointed. Now as for the mattes, once I figured out a working method, they were okay. These, if I use a firm packing brush for the mattes, it just, no, couldn't blend it out. And it would pack on patchy versus using a brush like that Sigma blender brush that I used a lot, or the Blend Bunny brushes would apply it much more smoothly. I found that to be really strange. Now, that doesn't necessarily make the shadow like high maintenance, but it does mean the shadow is very particular in its preference, and so like you're gonna, like, that's just my personal experience. Now obviously I have very dry eyelids and I also have monolids. I had to like find the right workflow for these shadows, which is just really strange. I usually don't have that experience with her mattes. I definitely personally feel her mattes are a little bit more not as easy to work with as Natasha Denona's mattes. There, I said it, that's my hot take of the year. I can't necessarily say the mattes are bad, but it did take me some experimentation, so bear that in mind. So given that this is now an $82 palette, I have to say I'm not really impressed, nor do I feel super fired up by this, and so I have a really hard time recommending it to you to buy full price or even 20% off. The colorful mattes are cool, but I think Cosmic Brush's Serenity and Blend Bunny mattes are both going to fulfill that hole for anybody looking for that. I don't necessarily think this palette is bad, but it most certainly didn't live up to my expectations, and I don't think I have unreasonable expectations. That's my thoughts, and this lash is about to fly off my face and run away, so I'm gonna end this video here. Oh, and by the way, last minute edit, I wore my makeup and then I went to go see a friend and I was out for like 6 hours, and look, my inner corner highlight's gone. I'm really disappointed. Like, my eyeliner held on, my foundation and concealer look great, and my highlighter is definitely still on. My eyebrows are fine. This eyeshadow staying power has really disappointed me. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Please let me know in the comments if you have any more questions, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye-bye.